What is going on, guys? Time for a quick little video in regards to the E92 M3. I just did an oil change today, Castrol 10W60 oil, and I'm not going to be doing any different oil for the winter time. Right now it's pretty much the end of October, and I sort of put it around and try to explore if it made sense to do a different blend and stuff like that. But I'm going to stick with the 1060. I normally only drive it on days that are, above 40 degrees and stuff like that. So but anyways, the topic of today, which I thought was relevant to make a video on, is the oil. What oil to use, what oil I use, what oil I've read people using, because I ran into an issue recently buying oil for this car. I went to buy oil for this car, which normally I do Castrol 10W60, which is what I was looking for, but the little brand that they use was different. So the one that I got, which is the one that I used, is this Castrol 10W60, and it says supercar on it, right there, which I had never seen. Some of the sites like ECS, the picture of it said supercar, but the description said TWS, the Castrol 10W60 TWS, which is what I wanted. And the sites weren't consistent. I went to Castrol's website and it wasn't consistent. So probably 5 hours of research later, I was able to find an answer as to what oil to use, because sort of as a side note, there's a bunch of different ones. There's Castrol Edge, there's Edge Sport, there's TWS, there's Supercar, and there's Edge Professional. And they're all like kind of similar if you don't really know the difference, but I will separate the one that says Edge Sport. E92 M3 cannot take it. It is different quality. There's a different makeup of the oil. Never ever use the Edge Sport. So I did learn that. I didn't really know about that oil before, so don't use that brand that says Edge Sport. The Edge, the one that says Edge, I believe is the European blend, which if you see that in the US, I assume it's fine. And the TWS, which is the original BMW approved oil for this car, which now is not Castrol anymore. I just continue to use Castrol because I know it. A lot of guys I know use it as well. So I'm just gonna stay consistent. There's really no big reason to change for me. I'm open to, I guess, different oil, but 10W60 TWS is fine. But they rebranded, I confirmed with Castrol, because their website doesn't have the chemical breakdowns of the difference between the supercar and the TWS, because they are branded differently. The supercar, I guess the answer is a direct replacement to the TWS branded oil. I actually had several phone calls with different reps because I didn't want to put in something that was like the sport line, or I didn't want to put in something that was just wasn't normally, approved or whatnot. So I started obsessing a little bit more than maybe necessary, but I never thought, it's like the simplest task, and it took me 5 hours to agree with myself and be confident enough to make a decision and buy the oil and put it in the car and run it. So I think that that's very important. Everyone I asked, they're like, supercar, I've never heard of such a brand. I've never heard of that branding name, which I assumed it was a replacement, but if you go to their site, and I definitely recommend that you do, the slip sheet for each oil, supercar doesn't have one for the 1060. And the rep went to their site and was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's nothing to compare because there's no slip sheet. The slip sheet that comes up is for a different weight, or the one that comes up is doesn't have the supercar label. You click on it and then it says TWS. So they didn't do a very good job replacing everything, or it's still a transition. But this has been out for about a year now. So it's October of 17. It's been out apparently since October of 16 or so. But I hope that you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from. When you have a kind of a very special car that requires special oil, 1060, I mean, you go into AutoZone, they don't even know. They're like, we don't have anything like that. It's something you definitely have to order and be cognizant of, and running the right oil makes sense. I kind of wanted, if there was an oil that was like 060 for the wintertime, I guess, ideally that would make a little bit more sense if I could get my hands on something, but I don't even think that that kind of oil exists, and I've never really heard of anyone using anything like that. So hopefully that was informative to you guys. If you are interested in oil change information, I did do an oil, I think I might have 2 videos on oil changes on my E92 M3. I do them myself now just because the dealer wants over 200 bucks for it, and you know, I can just spend it on the oil itself and save myself some money. I'm going to be doing a Blackstone test. I saved a few ounces of the oil that was in there. It was the TWS oil, I believe. Man, I feel like it was 7,000 miles on that batch of oil. So it was a little bit longer than I want to do, but I was just very busy. So I'm interested to see what that comes back. I will do a full in-depth video on the Blackstone test, which you just send your oil out. They tell you, it gives you ideas about rod bearings, it gives you ideas about how the engine's running, warm-up procedure, all that stuff, the levels, if there's anything that could potentially be going wrong with your car if it's not already. It's really cool to do. A lot of the guys do it. So I've never done it. I will be sending out my oil to have analysis done in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my oil change video below, and I will see you guys next time.